Good evening, everybody. This is Pastor Wendell Jones. Thank you for tuning in to another broadcast of The Relevant Church. We always appreciate you showing up for us on Monday night. And again, our heart's desire is to toss away the pretense, toss away the facades and images, and get down into the nitty-gritty of things and address the issues of our community. Address the stuff y'all talking about in the barbershop and talking about over the kitchen table, talking about in the beauty salon. Just really trying to meet you where you are and prove to you that there is no big chasm, no gaping hole between where you are and where God is, no gaping hole between where you are and the church is, where it shouldn't be. We're trying to bridge that gap so we can meet you right where you are. And tonight's show will do just that. Tonight's show is entitled, listen to this, it's entitled, Finding Manhood. Now, who are we talking to tonight primarily? Listen, tonight's show primarily is addressing that young brother out there. And the term young brother really isn't speaking to his age, just another man. And what we're going to do, we're going to be courageous tonight and hope to inspire you to be courageous. Men, we have to talk more. Men, we have to bond with each other. Scripture has instructed us for iron to sharpen iron, so is one man unto another. We need each other to hone our skills. Guess what? We need each other for the impartation of manhood. And so that's what we're doing tonight. Ladies, we're glad you're watching. We want you to eavesdrop. We want you to take notes. We want you to text a brother that you love. Text your brother. Call your husband into the room. Text your father. Send him the link to what we're getting ready to talk about. Share to your Facebook page. Share on YouTube. Do me a favor, go ahead and like the program so we can get the algorithms right, so we can be seen by more people, because this is a subject that's rarely talked about in public, where men get real. And so I got some brothers with me tonight that I know well, and I've challenged them to join me, and I know it's hard, and I appreciate them, and this is so real tonight. I'm gonna depart from something. We're gonna have a departure from something. Normally, when I do this show, I have everybody's resume, and I read out what everybody's doing. And these three men are accomplished. They're doing some wonderful things. They're all three of them are husbands, and two of them are fathers, and one is not a biological father, but he's a father to many. They got some accolades behind their names. They got some accomplishments behind their names. But listen. We as men often hide behind those things, and we lead with that. We lead with our job titles, lead with the size of our houses, our cars, and all that kind of stuff. So tonight, we're not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk to the man and give them a chance to be. I'm dropping pastor title tonight. And so let me tell you who I've got with me tonight. Over here to my left, I got my man Greg. I've been knowing Greg for several years now. Good brother. Doing some wonderful stuff. Tonight he's Greg. He's just Greg. Over to my right, this young man has been in my shadow since he was 16. I love him for it. I'm enjoying watching him grow up. This is my main man, Jermaine. And down beside him, looking straight ahead as he's trying to gather himself and trying to figure out how in the world he told me yes. When I asked him to be on the show, he said, you know, it's hard to tell you no, but I sure want to. but he was the main one on my list, because if there's any brother that keeps it real, and I so appreciate his honesty, and I so appreciate his determination and pursuit of God. He's trying so hard to get it right. That's what I love about him. And so that's my main man, Milton, down there. And so we got four brothers sitting around the table, drinking water. I said we need something stronger. Might come out to the house the next time. I'm kidding. Don't send me no emails. We're gonna just talk. All right. Let's forget about the camera. First question of the night, brothers. Just get us talking. The theme for the night of the topic for the night is finding manhood. That says a lot by itself. It's not something that you just naturally have because you're male. It's something you got to find. So when you hear the term manhood, and I want to hear from all three of you on this, and I'm gonna chime in after you guys talk. But what comes to mind when you hear the word manhood? Anybody can go first.
Well, when I hear manhood, gosh, because I didn't have a real good display of it growing up, but I hear manhood, I like weightiness, responsibility, stress at times. You know, I feel that, because I'm a man, I feel like I'm supposed to be all those things to whoever my audience is. So I feel the weightiness of it.
Awesome.
That's what I think manhood is.
I would say for me, for growing up, always looked at manhood as strength. It's, being strong. You have to be strong. And being around like the friends that I had and everything like that growing up as a kid and as teen years and stuff like that, it was also manhood was twisted into basically sexual prowess. Is that your manhood was dependent upon how many women you could get.
Mm-hmm.
And so with those two, because I had a good example of manhood with my father, but when you're outside of the walls of your house and your friends are saying things and you're seeing different things, those are the two things that I always kind of saw, was that it depended upon how strong he was, who you can knock out, who you could beat up or whatever, and who you can take down as far as a woman.
Yeah.
That's what centered around me as far as when it came to manhood.
Gotcha. Milk.
Just to piggyback on both of the brothers, pretty much the same thing, but I guess one of the main things that stand out to me, I had my father. He was in the home. Still have my father. He was a great provider. I guess that's part of what I saw as manhood. Great provider, but some of the aspects of love, showing love or spending time, kind of as a boy, only boy. Looking back now, or even then, you want more time, more, just affirmation from your father. Provider, I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the biggest thing for me with manhood, is the responsibility. It's just understanding how much of a responsibility it is and how many things and people you are responsible for. Not, let alone yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, responsibility is probably the biggest key for me. It's just taking that and grabbing hold to being responsible for my actions, which I wasn't, at a young age, but just learning to be more responsible.
Awesome. I'm learning the older I get to try not to take words for granted. Words I use all the time, I think I know what they mean, but when you go look them up, it gives you such a greater revelation of some stuff. And so I decided to do the same thing with manhood, and the suffix, the ending of manhood, the word hood means the condition of. So the condition of being a man. And so manhood really implies conditioning. And so you have to be conditioned how to be a man. And man, the stuff started popping off in my head and stuff started making sense, because the one liberty that we have is that we get to choose where we pick up our conditioning. You know, our conditioning, and which resulted in the defining for us with manhood men. Even if we had good people at the house or we didn't have to choose to follow the house. We didn't. And we picked where we were going to be conditioned. So talk to me about that a little bit. When you look back over your life, that young man, where did you choose to be trained?
For me, just a little background. I grew up in an environment where it was just all women. It was my mom, my grandmother, my 2 aunts. And so on occasions where I did see my dad, I tended to listen to his voice just a little bit more than the parent that was actually raising me and the people that was actually around me. And so some of the advice that my dad would used to give me was like, I can remember to this day, I was 16 years old, and he was asking me, let's go ahead and throw my nickname out there, but he's like, KK, have you got you some yet? I was like, what are you talking about, right? Are you a virgin? I said, part of me wanted to lie to him, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And but then I was like, yeah, I'm still a virgin. Then I remember he said these things to me. He was like, hey, you need to go in there and get you some, or else I'm gonna go buy it for you, right? And that scarred me, right? So I seen some of the, cause in some of the neighborhoods out there, I seen some of the women.
Some of the people that were selling it.
Yeah. And I didn't want no parts of that. And so I went out.
And became KK.
KK, and I was like, and women, don't when you hear this, don't take this as a slight. So I became I became searching just for one thing. And so when I spoke into your ear, I was on out for that mission, and that was not to disappoint my dad. Initially started
that's real.
To disappoint my dad. And so when I accomplished his mission, not mine. When I come to his mission, I told him, and he was proud. And again, I think that's the way he was brought up. That's the only way he knew how to teach me how to become a man. And then so as I got older and older, hanging around my fellows from the basketball team and whatnot, so like we always do, start telling lies about our accomplishments and whatnot.
Yeah, conquest.
And so that's like my first indoctrination of what I thought was becoming a man.
Embellishing, and not always embellishing, but sometimes actually conquering, and conquering at the expense of somebody's daughter.
Right.
But again, what you said was huge, because I'm sure everybody in here can attest. There was somebody, whether it be a daddy or somebody, cousins, somebody you was trying to impress, somebody you was trying to show ain't no punk.
True.
Because you heard that word a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll say mine. Let me, Milk, Smitty.
Mine was, I'm like Greg, let me give you a little background. I'm five total of us, 4 sisters, and I'm the only boy, and I have a twin sister. So, again, my dad, he wasn't a big disciplinarian, and I can see, just having my grandbaby this weekend, or times I get her, how my voice makes a difference from my wife's voice or my daughter's. And my dad not being a disciplinarian, just the way he grew up, he was free spirit, did what he wanted to do. So that was kind of me, But I started being influenced by my cousins, because I had grew up in the country with all my family on one street. Most of the boys, they older than me. I see them out there washing their cars with the Trues and Vogues. They like nice stuff, but they worked. And women, So But one of my cousins closer to me, he got into the street, you know, selling dope and stuff. So that's what I wanted to emulate, the nice thing. So I started, you know, I was an athlete in school and so forth, went to college. Said I would never drink, use drugs. Had a bad experience with a female. Caused me to make a different decision than what I had said I was going to do. So started, you know, doing the drinking and all that. So, but then I come back home following him and just, you know, that conditioning. I wasn't raised that way, you know, but those were the decisions, like you said, just because my dad was there, was in the home, I still made a conscious decision to do the things that I chose to do. Yeah. And it really hurt my family and, you know, going to jail and, you know, being in the street and doing those things, you know, getting high and, you know, selling dope and all that. But it was like, it was what I chose, you know. But what I'm saying is, as far as that go, I kind of feel like maybe, like what you said, Greg, when your dad, you listen a little bit more to his voice. If my dad would have said more, maybe I would have listened more. Yeah. Maybe. Like I said, no slight on my dad. I love my dad. We have a relationship now that I've never had with my father, you know, and he's in his 80s. So I called him a few minutes ago before I came here. But, you know, just my conditioning, I feel like, was from older cousins. Yeah. And a lot of them, I know, just wasn't making the right decision. And that's what I wanted so-called to emulate, you know. Yeah. And then after I got in trouble, started having children, it was like, is this what I really want for my kids to see? Yeah. You know, my firstborn son. And it was like, if I have to hide it from them, it must not be really worth doing. Must not be right. Yeah. So, you know, that's kind of when my life started back in 2099 when I started seeing things differently. Yeah. You know. Had some different motivation going on. Yeah. Before I hear Jay, I want to hear what you think about that, Jay, but you made me think about something. What I remember probably has been one of the greatest moments in your life that I witnessed. Don't do it. Go ahead, man. Don't do it. When you mention it, it just does something to me. You know, but you go ahead. I hold it in. You ain't got to hold it in, bro. Get some tissue. When we ordained you as a deacon, and your daddy cried, and you said, "I've never seen him cry." And I heard him tell you how proud he was of you. And he came and told me how proud he was of you. And I said, "You're a man now. You got that verbal approval that you had been chasing." See, man, that's what people don't understand. We as tough and hard as we are, you know, and as wonderful as mothers can be and encouraging as mothers can be, you know, I saw it with my own boys. They're glad their mama at the game and all that. They really are. They love their mama. They score a touchdown. They, hey, mama, all that stuff. And she can't catch a pass, but hey, mama, you taught them how to do all that. But I will remember them going on the court or going on the field and their eyes scouring. And I would make sure I was visible. I was visible because you trying to find me. You know, and it was always bittersweet for me, Jay, because I would watch my boys enjoy something I never got to do. Because mine was never at any games or any events. And so you feel that, but at the same time, I was grateful that they couldn't feel what I was stuffing down at their games. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, Jay, go. What's your answer to the question?
Basically, kind of similar to everybody else, is that growing up, like, as you said just a minute ago, like, I appreciate everything that my mom did for me. Like, I'll fight a person to the death for my mom. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to my dad, having that approval from him, especially when you're talking about from manhood, is that having my brother and my brother being there while my dad was locked up, my brother was like, "Hey, I got to show you how to, this is what men do. Men, you know, you got to start, like, I start ironing clothes at 5. He was like, this, I was like,
putting killer creases in them jeans.
Yeah, he was like, I was sitting there like, dude, I'm 5 years old. He was like, you see this? This is hot. Don't touch this. iron your clothes, making up the bed, doing your homework. He was like, do everything before so that mom don't come home fussing. He was like, you got to do all that. He said, this is what men do. And my brother's 9 years older, so he's like 14 years old, saying, hey, this is what men do. Do this so that she don't come home fussing. And then you can do whatever you want to do after that. And then with my dad coming home, and my whole thing was, and I could see from his point of view, is that because he missed time.
Yeah.
He knew that I missed opportunities that I won't be able to get back. I couldn't teach my son how to tie a shoe. I couldn't teach my son how to fight. I can't teach my son how to play a sport because he's already learned how to play it. The only thing that I can come in and do is help him improve on the skills that he already has.
Yeah.
And so me seeing my dad at games, like I love seeing my mom there, but seeing my dad and hearing my dad, like I can go out there and kill it on the football field, basketball court, but my dad would still point out, hey, but you missed this right here. Like I got to score 6 touchdowns. My dad's like, well, you dropped that one pass that could have been number 7, but you ain't say nothing about the 6. But it was always because he was trying to push me to get better.
Yeah.
And as I got older and looking at him, is that he taught me to the point where I still did dumb things growing up. Because we all do. We get to that point where it's like, look, even though I hear you, I'm still going to do what I want to do in this situation. But I knew where that line was because my dad always told me, he's like, look, you came to visit me in jail. You know what federal state prison is like. You know what Perry Correctional feels like when those doors shut. You know what McCormick feels like when you go down there. You felt that as a kid. He was like, why would you do something dumb enough to put yourself in a situation where you grew up coming to see me in prison. And so I knew, okay, I can't go. I know where the line is, but I'm still going to kind of put my foot in the water, but then I'm going to pull back. Because like, hey, y'all go out there. I can't get in trouble and call my dad like, hey, I'm down here at Greenville Detention Center. Because I knew for one, he wasn't coming until Monday. Because if it was a Friday, he already told me, he said, I'm not coming to bail you out until Monday. So he said, you're going to sit down there. And that always played in my mind is that, okay, I can't do the crazy things and stuff that my friends are doing. I had friends that sold drugs, all kinds of stuff, but I didn't do that. And they knew they had enough respect for me and they had enough respect for my father. It was like, hey, Jay, you can't go with us over here. You can't do this with us over here and everything. But it was just something that he instilled into me that I always wanted his approval. And times, and when he did, and when he would say, hey, man, because his nickname for me is Hot Rod, because he gave me that because of my temper. Because he knew I could, especially playing on the basketball court or football court, my temper would turn.
I've seen that.
I have to.
Yeah.
And so, like, even when they came up to visit last week and they came to see our new home and everything, like, I heard my mom. She was like, hey, we're proud of you and everything. And I was like, okay, cool.
Waiting on
like,
daddy.
It is what it is. But when my dad came in, was like, hey, boy, I'm proud of you.
Hey, boy.
That, I'm a grown man. I'm 40 years old, but that's still my father. I'm still his son. And for him to say, hey, boy, I'm proud of you, that meant anything that anybody else could have ever said. But that's just something that he just instilled into me as far as making sure I handled my responsibilities and did what I needed to do. But he even knew, even though he may not say it, but he knew that, okay, I know my son will wild out here and there as he was growing up, which we all did. But he knew from the standpoint is that I could still trust my son to the point where he wasn't going to do something ridiculous or crazy to put shame on them.
I get that. My situation is kind of a mixture of all that y'all talked about. Because y'all know my mama, and y'all know she's tough as nails, right? Well, she's a woman still. And I can recall in Florida, when we moved to Florida. We moved to Florida when I was 4. And my hero, even to this day, he's been gone for 30 years now, was my older cousin, who was about 6 years older than me. Daddy wasn't in my life, to be honest, and some of my siblings may get upset with me about this, because it's a bunch of us. It's 12 of us. My mama got me, and Papa was a Rolling Stone. But we didn't have a relationship with him. And truthfully, as a child, I remember spending time with him one time. But I remember what began to fuel me at a young age was hearing my cousins and stuff talk about, he with his mama. He can't be no punk. Can't be picking up no women stuff, and they check you if you did anything that looked feminine. And so that had me trying to prove myself early. I'm in elementary school calling myself liking girls, and let's we say we go be honest. Back in the day, hunching. Anybody remember hunching?
Yeah.
Tina, you can't be doing that, Tina. You're the only woman in the room. You can't. But I got several whoopings for getting caught hunching. My landlord had a granddaughter that stayed with her. And, in Florida, she was my hunching partner. Didn't matter how many times we got in trouble, we find a way to go hunch again, and act like we was doing something. But even growing up and where I went, I was just introduced to stuff way too soon. And growing up in Fort Pierce, Florida, right there in the real hood. I used to laugh at folks when we moved back to South Carolina. They said we live in the hood. I said no, y'all don't. But in the hood, I knew the prostitutes and the pimps by name. I was me when I was a kid, Milt. I talked to everybody. Everybody knew Wendell. I was Lil Wendell. Everybody knew Lil Wendell. And so I knew who her pimp was and whatever. There was a whorehouse across the street, big old green 2-story house across the street from us. And you could actually peep through the wall because there was an opening around the pipe. And you could peep through the room and yeah. So they weren't hunching. When we was hunching, we were trying to sound like they were sounding, but they weren't hunching. And so I saw way too much too soon. Awakened the sexual appetite way too soon. But all of it was in the vein of proving that I wasn't gonna be no punk. And so when we're trying to prove ourselves, we have a tendency to go to the extreme. I'm gonna make sure there's no question about it. And so you start doing that, and yeah, Greg, yeah. And then you get old and have a daughter. You like, Jesus, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Pay me back. Don't have me doing time because I will, Lord. I will. So I get the whole idea of chasing manhood based on who you decide to be your teacher. And so, truth be told, we in different seasons of our lives, man, we became different people. We kept trying on personalities like trying on clothes because you gravitate toward what style of manhood seemed to be winning. Yeah. Man, winning was women, number one. Number one was women. Who was getting the women? Yeah. Number two, who looked good doing it. That was it. That was it. And you did school because you were scared of your people. But you were still trying to look like the fellas. And so that's what your thing of manhood, and you couldn't understand why women were acting like their feelings were hurt. I'm out here, I'm just being a man. Yeah. But over time that changes. One of the things that I heard y'all say that came up when y'all was talking about manhood, everybody used that word responsibility. And you can always hear it in your voice, responsibility. Why? I know all men are not. I think there are more men handling their responsibility than not. It's just popular not to act like every man is running from responsibility. Right. But can you for the brothers who do run, can you understand why they do? And tell me your take on that.
Again, this conference we had some sort of I never seen the full scope of responsibility. Growing up, I had a grandfather, but he was much older than I was. Well, actually, my great grandfather, I put it that way. He was my mom's grandfather, and I saw how he handled his house. But at a certain point, his age, caught with him, and he would talk to me, and I'm, I get my middle name from his last name, and so he used to, say Kerry, talk to him for a little bit, but that'd be about it. I see, had a nice house down in Pine Hill, sold insurance around, but it came to the point to where that was the only example. And a lot of things that I was doing at the time versus what he was doing, I felt like it wasn't relatable.
Gotcha.
So I didn't have anyone I could just really go to. So my go-to was my homeboys, my friends that I grew up with. But getting back to responsibility, I've seen some of my homeboys have kids and kind of shied away from that. So that became my thing, having kids, and because I didn't see it growing up, I didn't know how to be a father to my sons. Right?
Gotcha.
And so, looking back on it and speaking to them now that they're all in their 20s now, I would talk to them about that, and they would give me the honest feelings. They would like, hey, look, there were times where I needed you. But had they caught me at that time, I would have gave them the same answer that my dad gave me, right?
Oh, that's real, bro.
And so I just didn't know how to talk to them.
Yeah.
It wasn't eventually until I came through this ministry and getting some of the teaching, not just the correction and whatnot and the teaching, but you tell me there was always the why behind it and the how, and asking the question behind it. And so that's when me and my son started beginning a better relationship during their teenage years. So I can just talk to them, and then my daughter seen a change in me. But the number one person that really seen the change in me was my wife. She always wanted that man that could stand out and hold his own. And wasn't necessarily because she would always tell me, if I wanted a thug, I would chose a thug. Somebody, that can just handle their business, 2 fists down, whatnot. I'll die for my family, but if she wanted what she deemed a knucklehead or whatnot, a rough rider, that's what she would have went after, but she chose me. And then it wasn't until after the fact that I started to come to this ministry, I see why I chose her.
Mm.
And so the roles began to reverse in the household, to where she was that leader, she was that go-getter, she was that rah-rah person. But this ministry did something to me. It changed me. Seeing other brothers, which is what we're doing now, seeing other brothers hearing their stories, getting into all those small groups, the men's Bible study and whatnot, that shaped the rest of my life then going forward.
Mm-hmm.
So responsibility then it became, I know I said at the beginning it was weighty and whatnot, but now it's something that I look forward to.
That's awesome.
I want the responsibility.
Okay. That's good, man. Bros, what y'all, how about this? Responsibility back then and responsibility now. Greg changed my question.
For me, I've mentioned that to you before, and us talking personally, coming from where I came from, it's a real selfish place. I always get, because I was the only boy, it's like, man, I know you spoiled. And I was. You know what I'm saying? I ain't no lying about that. I got my way. If you didn't benefit me, then hit the road.
Yeah.
And just even now, being married to my wife, celebrating 18 years, and us having 6 kids between us, it still resonates with me about responsibility. And just being able to take care of my family. But it seems like the responsibility, God say, I got you and all that.
Yeah.
I got you. Just keep But it's always something inside of me, like Greg was saying, coming to this ministry and giving my life to the Lord back in 01, and just keep going and keep going. You know, I ain't gonna throw the towel in. I got to keep. What am I going back to?
Yeah.
You know, who's watching me? You know, I know my family. It took a while before I got some real, like, this Negro serious. It ain't no play stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it was like some of them waiting for me to fall, waiting me to go back to this dude that was just nasty, foul mouth, whatever. You just put it on the table. That's him. But I was serious.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it was just, for one, I wanted to change. And then, you know, but then it was like, I guess what, like Greg said, weighty, what became is that I'm having to do it the way my Father in heaven wants me to do it. And I'm learning. I didn't know his way. I only knew my way. I only knew the way that I was shaped through my cousins or, you know, male friends or whatever. You know, get you some, man. You know, you lying. Like you say, you know, it's like, you know, then you go do it, then now what? Then you go do it with somebody, you know, it's like, then you have a child. And now it's like you said, how do I raise them? You know, it was, I forget the time frame, but, you know, my son was born. And then I had my daughter. And I think it was shortly after my daughter when I started seeing, I guess it's like what you were saying. It's like, man, many folks I done been with. And then my daughter come, I don't want this. I got to try to give her some kind of guidance, you know. Yeah. But that's another story. But just when I came to the kingdom, it was like, it's kingdom way now. And that's sometimes what my mind and the enemy try to play on. It's like, you don't know how to do this. Do it your way. It's like, nah, I can't. Because I know my way. Yeah. I'm going to mess it up. Like Jermaine said, you know, I'm all knuckles. We just go. It don't matter. But I know that's not going to be a good end result. Right. You know, so it's like I got to use wisdom. I got to pray. I got to, you know, filled with the Spirit. So ask the Holy Spirit to help me. You know, and even I went through the upstate fatherhood, and they showed me some things. But I remember my son's uncle. I ain't care for him, you know, or whatever. But my son was playing football in Columbia. He wanted to ride with me, you know. And like I say, we've had our issues. But I said, the Lord like, say, take him. I don't want to. He rode with me. But he was going through something. He was trying to follow God. Oh, wow. You know, and he felt downtrodden. You know, he wasn't enough. You know, he wasn't doing this, or his, you know, wife or whatever. I said, man, you man enough, man. I said, you can do this. I said, look at where you were. You ain't where you used to be. And I know that's what we all need. It's like, you ain't where you used to be. You need that, and you need that brother to say that. And that's and to be honest, man, that's not a place a woman can pull you out of. No. So, and sometimes we think that is, and you know, when you're younger, you think that, so you go try to find you one, find you two, you know, and try to sometimes screw your way back into security. Yeah. It don't work, man. It don't work. You need a brother to go, hey, man, somebody that know what it's like to be a man, that they know the emotions of a man. Yeah. You know, and can speak to you from that point. And I just told him, I said, man, keep going, man. Yeah. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't be discouraged by what you see now, what you're doing. Just keep going, man. You good. He cried, you know, but I know where you at. I feel you, bro. You know, absolutely. I feel you. And one last thing is, like, when you talking about being a punk, my cousins, man, they older than me, bigger than me. They would thump me on my head. I mean, hard. And say, man, you ain't gonna be no punk. Yeah. And just, I don't know if that was right or wrong, but I got the same treatment. It's like, you got 4 sisters, you ain't about to be no sister. Man. Yeah. They think you're in an environment that's gonna make you soft. Yeah. And truthfully, it could have. It could have. And I don't know if their way of bringing us out of it was right. Because I got tossed in creeks and pools and beat up and all kinds of stuff to try to make sure you had some bass in your voice, and you walked like a man. I need you to walk like one. Yeah.
Jay, responsibility then and now. How you feel about it?
Kind of similar to the first question that you asked is that why do a person runs from it? Then is that a lot of times if you didn't know what responsibility looked like in that situation, it will be intimidating. You will run from it, but it doesn't mean that that person is not responsible, because there are some areas within their life that they are responsible in.
True.
You know, we've all seen that we ran from things because we didn't know how to handle it, because it was never shown to us. And I feel that from then till now, even in my life, was kind of the same situation. There's certain things that, you know, that came up in my life that didn't occur in my father's life.
Yeah.
That I could have went and talked, instead of me going to talk to him and saying, trying to get some type of counsel, I'll try to handle it on my own, and then it ended up blowing up in my face because I decided, like, oh, I'm a man, I can handle this. I don't need to go to nobody for this. But now that I've gotten older, is that I have seen some things, but now I'm more, I'm a little easier now going and saying, hey, just throwing a question out there to somebody's like, hey, what do you feel about this?
Yeah.
And it may not necessarily going into the whole detail of the situation, but just getting some feedback from somebody, you know, even if it's from my dad or anybody from yourself, it's like, hey, how you feel about this? And just to get something from another man and say, well, I look at it like this way. That way it allows me to start thinking like, okay, well, man, my way of thinking about this was kind of wrong. It's kind of screwed up. And so let me go back and make some adjustments. And so I think for myself then, if I looked at myself when I was 21 to where I'm at now at 40, of course it's going to be two different people. Hopefully it's two different people. But I'm not saying like that. But it's to the point where, you know, at 21 years old, I couldn't handle the responsibilities of what I am handling now at 40. My mind was not developed enough to handle that responsibility. I could only handle 21-year-old responsibility.
I got you.
And so now being 40, it's kind of that same thing. As you get older, more comes onto you. You learn more as you go through. You know, hopefully you learn more as you go through each age. We see that some people don't. You know, we have some people that are in our lives that can be 70, 80 years old and still act like they did when they was 20. And so it doesn't come with necessarily.
What a waste of
age.
time, huh?
Yeah, it doesn't come with your age. It comes with you allowing yourself to be engulfed into that experience to learn something so that you can be responsible.
Awesome. Now, I heard every one of y'all touched on something, and I jotted the note down because I wanted to come back and ask this. Each of you talked about, in some way or another, how another brother, another man, came along and helped you, and you built relationship. But you know, throwing a little curveball in that, having a chance to counsel men, and being one myself, sometimes we have a hard time connecting with brothers. You know, if you're heterosexual, man, you've been chasing women all your life for the most part, so you ain't too afraid of trying to connect with a female. But your brotherly relationships, you kind of keep very superficial. What you do, we can go to the game together. It ain't very common to have a conversation on the trip down to Columbia like that. I'm sure if you look back in your life, you weren't having them. And I think a lot of times, man, you know, what I've seen is that we don't know what to do with our feelings for a brother, because you still trying to not be a punk. You still trying to do this, and I think one of the hardest things that men can go through is when a man gets hurt by a man. When a brother, and he's a brother, you consider him a brother, when a brother hurts you, because you don't know what to do with that. And not only do you not know what to do with it, you can find yourself, tell me if I'm right about this, you sometimes find yourself being mad for caring. You're mad for caring so much. You used to being hurt by a female, so you understand having a little heart aching and then all that kind of stuff you go through about a woman. But why are you sitting somewhere or worry about another hard leg? But the Bible hit me with something because I was preparing for this, and I'm gonna get to a question in a minute. But that brotherly love, and it's called phileo, brotherly love. That thing must be huge because the Holy Spirit reminded me today of a scripture when Jesus was talking about how he loves. He said, I have a love that sticks closer than a brotherly love. So he's trying to say, if you understand brotherly love, I can top that. So he wasn't talking bad about it. He was saying, this is that real thing for you. When you finally got a brother that'll speak into your life. And so that resonated with me. That I got changed today on my thinking about that when Holy Spirit brought that back to my mind. How important it is for men to have men in your life. Men that can check you, men that can cheer you, men that can encourage you. How do you feel about that whole notion of having, or I'm gonna give a strong word, needing those kind of brothers? Do you allow yourself to need? Can you admit that you need? Can you be that brother?
I really do think, for one, yeah, you do need that. You need somebody that's gonna call you on your no, I can't say.
You want to say
crap.
call you on your yeah. That's why I didn't give y'all his title earlier in case he said something crazy. That's hot rod talking.
Yeah, because you need a brother that's going, or brothers that's gonna call you on your stuff. Especially because, for one, for you to develop that type of relationship, that means you've been around that person long enough to know their mannerisms, to know if something is off. When you see them in their face, or when you're talking to them, and like you can pull them to the side, it's like, hey man, something's not right with you on today, and vice versa. Me going to that brother and saying the same thing, you have to have that level of relationship with them, but that comes with over time. That means that you have truly put yourself on the line to open yourself up to a person, for them to call you on yours and for you to call them on theirs, because that doesn't happen just in a 2-month time period. If I just met Greg 2 months ago, we wouldn't be necessarily on that level. But because me and Greg have been in each other's lives now, going well over 10 years and stuff now, we can have those conversations. Me and Milk have had conversations like that. Me and you was talking about that earlier. Like I was talking about, your mannerisms and stuff, and you saying how Lee was like, yeah, Uncle Jay knows you because
he was watching me go through something. He was telling his wife, Pastor mad. I thought I was coming it up, Milk. He said, no, Pastor mad right now. He was right too. He was right.
But it's all about having, when you allow, and sometimes it happens, you don't even, a lot of times it happens more, I would say more often than not, and we don't be paying attention to it. Is that because we do have some brothers in our lives that we are very connected with, that for one are trying to go into the same direction that we're going in as well. Because we do have people that we connected with, they ain't trying to do anything. We're, they're family members or whatever that may be. But the brothers that you got in your life, that they're trying to do well for themselves, do well for their families, and they're trying to move in the same direction. We have it, and I think sometimes we don't utilize it as much as we should. Yeah. It's only when something hits the fan, it's like, hey man, like what's going on? Versus tapping into it a little bit more, as you see sometimes how women do a little bit more. Women do have that sense of that they do have those self-checks with their good friends a little bit more often than we are. It's kind of like men going to the doctor. We don't go until it's the last resort. And it's like, okay, this leg about to fall off. Now let me go get some help. And we kind of do the same thing with our friends that are connected to us. But I think it's something that we desire, because this whole thing is about manhood. And so when I think about manhood, it's basically like a community of men. It's no different than like a neighborhood. A neighborhood is a community of people that live in a particular area. And so we're all men. We're part of this hood. And we need that. And I think we need to develop it a lot more so it becomes more normal. Because when you do see it, it's shocking. It's shocking. Like, oh man, they really tight like that. But it shouldn't be that way. it should be more of the norm, to where it makes it easier for other brothers that are trying to find that from somebody that's not trying to get over on them.
Absolutely. And, you know, maybe if we do a better job of that, and I know we will do a better job of that, we'll see men coming back to church. I know I wanted to hear y'all, but my media director tell me we don't hit some time. So there's several questions I want to hit on tonight, but we've talked about some good stuff. But there's one more that I got to hear from y'all, and we'll close out with this question. What has been the biggest disappointment to you concerning manhood? Y'all hear that silence, folks? It ain't because they don't have an answer. They're trying to pick which one to say. I'll throw mine out there first and see what y'all think. I think my biggest disappointment that I'm settling into, but my biggest disappointment about manhood is how good men aren't celebrated. Being a good man, beating the stereotypes, being responsible, taking care of your family. There's a lot of chat, a lot of noise about men who don't do what they're supposed to do. But the men who do what they're supposed to do, sometimes the best you get is that's what you're supposed to do. And I'm sure some of our viewers might agree with that. But I guess the reason why I don't like it, because being a man and talking to men, they don't know how hard our feet moving under the water like that duck, just trying to escape the vacuum of the impressions that we had growing up, and trying to stay the course, and trying to show up, and trying to do all we do against a world that really don't say even thank you for what you do. And so sometimes that bothers me. It definitely bothers me as I watch brothers, good men, how they're treated in a very entitled world, as if they are a dime a dozen. And that's not true. There's so much right now that makes it easy for a man to be a not good man without a whole bunch of consequences. You can be trifling right now without consequences, can't you?
Yeah.
And sometimes, let's be honest, we felt like we got treated better when we was being. I'm trying to find some words like Jay. When we was being trifling, got all the loving you wanted, all the attention you wanted, with the least bit of responsibility. Yeah. What's been the most disappointing?
I say for me, I think when I say this is more so from an emotional standpoint in manhood, is because society says that, or if you're a man, you show too much emotion, something's wrong with you. And then on the flip side, if you don't show enough emotion, something's wrong with you. And so it puts men in this mental state where you can become very mentally unbalanced, because I don't know what you want me to show emotion, but if I show too much raw emotion, then you basically, like how you were saying earlier, it's the name calling. You call me a punk. I'm not a man because you too emotional.
Or I'm an angry black man.
Or you're the angry black man because you don't know how to express the emotion, so it explodes out.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're emotionless, it's like, oh, you just dead inside. Like, no, I don't know what to give you. And so because society does not do a good job, and I think it is upon men to lead that charge, because society as a whole doesn't do a good job on really explaining, about how we can show our emotions in an effective way. And it all comes about how you are taught, what you see, the environment that you're in. And I think for men, that's something that we have to lead the charge on, to really dive into that, because there's a tightrope going on as far as you going too emotional or not having none emotion whatsoever. You have to have that balance in between there. But society is like, no, you need to be either over here or I'll put you over here.
That's real. Fellas, Greg, Milk, anything come to mind? Don't force it if it don't. But if it is, tell me about it.
Well, I think what I'm most disappointed about it is that this is going to be a little controversial here, but to me, how society is defining what a man should be now, what a man should look like now. Instead of telling us that what the word tells us what a man should be, and standing on that, being firm in that, instead of
Trying to find your words.
yes, and just trying to be politically correct here, which that
That means society done got to you.
yeah, society has got to me.
Effeminate.
Yes, exactly. And I would say that showing emotion, piggyback off what Pastor Jay was saying, is that showing emotion is not feminine. Because one of the best things that I love about this ministry is that I can look at you, look at Pastor Jay, look at Milk, and tell you that I love you and truly mean it, and
Right.
you can express those things back and still be considered a man versus how the world would look at it if I tell you that I love you and the guy tell me I love him back, that we're in a relationship with one another.
Right.
And that's one of the biggest disappointing things is that not really express how you truly feel
It
about
discourages
one another.
that. Yeah, you get that effeminate label attached to you. That's good, brother.
Just kind of the same letdown as far as emotional issue. Anger was my go-to. And just, having somebody there to say, look, son, anger is not going to get you what you want. But as a child, a lot of times that anger, or I'm mad, he mad now. I can remember them saying that. Look, he mad now. So what happened? I get my way. And that was a letdown because I was with my sisters, my mom, women.
Yeah.
So I'm the cute little boy, little light-skinned boy with the, whatever. Look at me, cute.
Why you want to say with the what? Cute with the what?
With the good hair.
With the good hair. I knew that's what you were gonna say. Cute little light skinned boy, the good hair.
So I'm like, those stereotypes and just growing up, being an athlete and how many points you gonna score tonight? How you gonna do it? And it was just so much superficial stuff that nobody really seemingly cared about me.
Yeah.
Inside.
Didn't get to real milk.
The real me.
Yeah.
So I'm facades and just, pleasing everybody. And I'm just really almost 50 years old, getting to a place where I'm at peace with myself.
Oh, that's good, brother.
It's a journey. It's every day. But just getting to a place of that angry black man. Just because I voiced my opinion don't mean I'm angry. On a job, nah, this ain't right. And it needed something to be done with it.
Yeah.
But before, it was like, I'm mad, don't say nothing to me, MF this, I'm cussing you out, get out my face, whatever. But as you become, and you're teaching us how to be leaders, that don't cut it. You got to be wise. You got to be able to articulate and say the things that the Lord put on your heart to say and leave it at that. Yeah. But the emotional aspect of just being able to say, even like Greg was saying, being politically correct, manhood, but with black men.
That's a whole another. We didn't even get into that tonight.
It's a whole different topic.
We might have to come back and get the black man. Yeah, and I think I might have took it for granted because we all black men. We might be a little blacker than you, Milk, but
just a little bit.
But we all black men. But we couldn't cover everything in this hour. We just kind of skimmed the surface. But there's some more deeper issues that we need to get to, and so I'm already committed to bringing y'all back and let's talk about it. Because again, this is not a conversation that's done publicly. If we are honest, man, sometimes the black man is treated like a unicorn or a Loch Ness monster, a mystery out there. And not a lot of people are even interested in going beneath the surface.
Yeah.
We still interested in what can you do? What can you provide? And so for men to heal, and not only just heal, but for men to really be in touch with who God says that they are, so they can turn around and produce that man. That's the best man we know we can give to the world. That's what Scripture is telling us. There's a version of us that can serve our families better, that can serve our communities better. And it may not be the man we've been all these years. And so sometimes, y'all, one of the hardest things about being a man, especially a black man too, is unwinding the life we built. Even when you know it don't work. But just the fear of scrapping what you've done and embracing something totally foreign. And when I say totally foreign, our cousins weren't doing it, our daddies weren't doing it. We don't have an example many times to grab a hold to. So thank God for the church, and thank God for brothers that show up and go, hey, I'm figuring it out too. So come on, let's study together. Let's try to get this thing. And so I'm so grateful for y'all and for the other men in this ministry and other men outside of it. Y'all help me heal in my man relationships. And stuff happened. And shoot, something happened to me this year with a brother. That's like, jeez, I'm going back to my cave. But then I think about y'all, and I appreciate you so much. Guys, we want to give you just an insight of this, kind of let you eavesdrop, be a fly on the wall as we talk. As I said, there's so much more we could say. And there's so much more we will say. I think this is a topic that we need to dig a little bit deeper in. Scripture says, when the foundation is destroyed, what can a righteous do? And so we are taking on the responsibility, not running, taking on the responsibility of being foundation. And so we want to stop destroying ourselves so that we can help the rest of you do what you're called to do. So pray for us. How about this? This is going to get me in trouble, but I'm going to say it. Don't wait till they hurt us for you to love us. Don't just love us when we're little brown boys. We need you to love us when we ain't making a whole lot of sense, when we still trying to figure it out. And I'm treated like I should know. And if I hadn't been put in the right environment and received the right conditioning, just trying to figure it out. I'm not asking you to take responsibility away. I'm not saying don't hold us accountable. I'm not saying don't check us. But how about this? Just don't lose hope in us. Please. Thank y'all for tuning in tonight. Till next time, much love.